Good evening, everyone. It's right at 5:30, maybe a minute past. We'll give people another minute or so to join. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's on the call already. Really appreciate you making time for us this evening. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started again. Hopefully others can join us as we go along, hopefully not having technology troubles. That's always our worry with these sort of things, but hopefully having a virtual meeting tonight makes it easier for people to attend, and we again appreciate your time and making time for us. So I'm Kathleen Brackey. I'm the Deputy Director for Boulder County's Community Planning and Permitting Department and lead our transportation planning team. And I want to say thank you to Angel Bond, our Boulder County's Mobility for All Program Manager, for joining me tonight, and also Alex Hyde-Wright, who's a Principal Transportation Planner with our transportation planning team and leads many of our amazing transit programs, projects, and services for Boulder County. And then also it looks like Rick Hackett is on the line. Rick, thank you for joining us. He's with Boulder County's Community Planning Permitting and helps us with our public communications. So got a great crew here tonight. And also, as we get started, I want to say a tremendous thank you to all of our agency partners. I see many of the names on our list this evening. All of the work that we're going to be talking about this evening around Boulder County transit services and this proposed program of projects really couldn't happen without all of the engagement and participation by staff from the local communities in city of Longmont and Boulder and Louisville, Lafayette, and Erie and others, and also with our colleagues from the Federal Transit Administration, also the Colorado Department of Transportation, the Regional Transit District, RTD, and also the Denver Regional Council of Governments. So this is very much a multi-agency collaborative process, and appreciate all of the help that we've been getting throughout the process. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please, Angel. This is just an overview of the agenda and the items that we'd like to cover this evening. We have a video to show and a brief presentation about the information, and then we're really seeking input and questions and suggestions from the community to help guide our work and next steps moving forward. There are options for Q&A. If you have questions as we go along, please feel free to put them in there. I think, Alex, you're managing the Q&A in the chat for us. Also, just as a reminder, the meeting is being recorded so that we can put this on our website, and others that aren't able to join tonight will have a chance to see this information as well. So I think with that, I'll go ahead and Angel, if we could jump to that slide. We've got a great video to share with you. I think it helps provide the overview of Boulder County's role in transportation and all of the different projects, programs, and services that we work on together in service of our community. So with that, Angel, I'll turn it over to you.
Boulder County is a great place to live, work, and play, with beautiful scenery, countless opportunities for recreation, a strong sense of community, and robust local economies. There's so much to love about Boulder County. Our multimodal transportation network connects our communities and places we want to go. Whether it's taking transit to work, riding a bike on the US 36 bikeway, walking our kids to school, or driving to an appointment, Boulder County's multimodal transportation network helps to get us there.
Going forward, Boulder County's transportation needs are changing, and the transportation system must adapt to meet the community's changing needs. Not everyone has access to all transportation options, and too often our current methods of transportation are too expensive and contribute to climate change and poor air quality. To achieve our community's vision of a safe, sustainable, affordable, and inclusive transportation network, we need to work together to prioritize our transportation investments and plan for a future that serves all of us.
To address the challenges we face now and in the future, Boulder County's Transportation Master Plan provides a blueprint for us to work off of. And as we prepare for the future of getting around our county, we want to continue hearing from you on what you'd like to see the county prioritize.
The TMP includes projects to improve Boulder County roadways, transit, regional trails, and bicycle and pedestrian facilities.
We're working with local and state partners on planning improvements for our regional corridors, such as Colorado 119, US 287, and Colorado 7. Our focus is on the community and giving users multimodal mobility choices regardless of where they are coming from and going to in Boulder County and beyond.
Vision Zero is our ambitious safety program. We set a goal to eliminate serious injury and fatal traffic crashes in unincorporated Boulder County by 2035. We are dedicated to achieving our goal and providing the public with a transportation system where anyone can travel about the county safely and comfortably, regardless of mode. We are going to achieve our goal by collaborating with stakeholders, engaging with the public, and using a proactive, data-driven approach to eliminate crashes and prioritize safer road design and educational strategies.
Boulder County's Mobility for All and youth transportation programs address the unique needs of our vulnerable and underserved populations. We know that transportation is essential to accessing education, healthcare, recreation, and economic opportunities in Boulder County. By enhancing mobility and transportation options for people of all ages, abilities, and incomes, we foster vibrant, healthy, and equitable communities.
We are enhancing our mountain area connections by creating programs and services that are designed for the unique needs of the county's mountain communities. We are working to continue our strong history of combining local, state, and federal funding to bring the community's transportation vision to life. Boulder County prioritizes investments in multimodal corridors to give people options to use all modes of transportation and support our clean air and climate goals. With your help, all of these programs and projects can come together to create a safe, equitable, affordable, sustainable, and resilient transportation system in Boulder County.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Angel, and hopefully it helps to provide a backdrop for our conversation this evening around Boulder County and how important transit is to the overall multimodal system. We can go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So I think it's important to help set the table for why transit is so important. As you saw in the video, it's really about giving people of all ages and stages of life options and choices on how to travel around their communities, to and from our communities, and beyond. So all of the work that we do in Boulder County is centered on our countywide transportation plan that was recently updated in 2020 and provides this overview for the network of transit across the county and within. One of the most recent updates to our transit-related plans is the work that Angel Bond and Cami Edson have led to create Boulder County's first coordinated human services plan. It's called Mobility and Access for All Ages and Abilities, and there's a copy of the report available on our website if you're interested in taking a look at that. But again, it really helps to showcase how critically important transit is for our Boulder County communities and populations and our vulnerable populations, and how can we continue to enhance affordable and sustainable services to people, and how do we continue to advance investments in those areas. We also know that the transit plans in Boulder County don't stand alone. Our plans it's very important that we're integrating and connecting with the local transit plans within the communities. Many of the communities across Boulder County have their own either overall transportation plan or a specific transit plan, and we want to make sure that all of these pieces of the puzzle are fitting together. And in addition, we want to make sure that our transit planning is integrating with the broader regional transportation system and the transit system, including, for example, the great work that was done by RTD to create the Northwest Area Mobility Study, or NAMS. We often refer to that, but that was really the first place where we start creating that network of high-performing transit corridors along the 119 corridor from downtown Longmont to downtown Boulder, the Colorado 7 corridor from downtown Boulder out to Erie and Lafayette and beyond to I-25 and connecting to regional service there. And then the 287 corridor, Boulder County just is wrapping up our first phase of the US 287 bus rapid transit feasibility study, looking at that corridor connecting between Longmont and US 36 and City and County of Broomfield. So we know that all of these pieces of the puzzle, the local planning, the countywide, the regional and interregional planning, all need to fit together. And that's what creates that overarching system of access and mobility for people, regardless of where they want to go or how they want to get there. We also know that all of our transit planning sits within our broader sustainability goals, our social equity goals, and our air quality and climate action plans that, again, not only Boulder County has, but our local communities, DRCOG or Denver Regional Council of Governments. I'm going to practice trying to, there's not say so many acronyms. I know there's a lot of familiar names on the call this evening that are familiar with them, but I also recognize that there's a lot of new people participating this evening that may not know what all of these acronyms mean. So if I do say those, please put in the chat, what does this mean or what does that mean? Because it can start sounding like alphabet soup after a while. So again, we've noted on this slide the importance, again, of all of our transit planning and transportation planning sitting and complementing the Denver Regional Council of Governments regional plans as well. So it's a very much intended to be an integrated system, and each of the services that you'll hear us talk about tonight are meant to be complementary and serve in conjunction with existing and planned routes throughout these communities. Let's go ahead to the next slide, please, Angel. So tonight we're here to talk specifically about a new opportunity that has come about through partnerships with the Federal Transit Administration. And the Federal Transit Administration has created additional funding for from Congress through the Federal Transit Administration to the states across the country, and then to what are called urbanized areas. In our particular case in Boulder County, we have 3 of these designated small urbanized areas. One is called the Boulder Urbanized Area, you hear us say UZA. Again, I'm trying to use the non-acronym approach, but so Boulder, Longmont, and then a combined small urbanized area that is referred to as Louisville, Lafayette, and Erie, which also includes Superior. So we're looking at how do we work together with the Federal Transit Administration, with RTD, with the Colorado Department of Transportation, the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and our local communities to figure out a way to deploy these specific, unique resources that were identified to address the impacts to transit related to the COVID pandemic. And so in late last fall, through lots of conversations, we learned the FTA has provided approximately $34 million in funding for the 3 small UZAs, or 3 small urbanized areas within Boulder County, to address restoration of transit service. So since last year and over the last several months, we've continued to work with all of our agency partners to develop what's referred to by FTA as a program of projects. It's basically a set of services that we would like to use these dollars for to help restore service that has been impacted by the pandemic. So we wanted to share those with you this evening. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. This is a breakdown of the funding. The federal, it's called ARPA funds. It means American Rescue Plan Act funds. These are, again, specific dollars that were identified to address COVID-related impacts to transit in these particular small urbanized areas. And this is the breakdown of the funding for each of those. Let's go to the next slide, please. And just visually wanted to show the mapping for each of these small urbanized areas, because they're not just the what people might think of as the urban city boundaries for Boulder or for Longmont. They really are broader than that, and it's based on census data. And for each of these census tracts within the area. So this is a visual map for the Boulder UZA. If we can go to the next slide. This is a map of the Longmont urbanized area. And let's go to the next one. And then this is a map of that combined East Boulder County small urbanized area. Again, just to help show the unique nature of the mapping that's based on the census tracts. We can go to the next slide, please. So as we've been working together with our agency partners and identifying areas where service has been impact either reduced or eliminated due to the impacts of COVID, we've identified a set of different types of transit service to invest these dollars in. The COVID relief funds can be used from now through 2027. So it's a multi-year approach to restoring service in these areas through a combination of different types of transit. So again, the ones we may be most familiar with are traditional fixed route services like the HOP circulator within the city of Boulder. We're also proposing new fixed route service between Lions and Boulder. The Lions community wants to brand it as the Lions Flyer, and hoping we can start that this summer. And then we have the regional corridors that I mentioned, Colorado 7, Colorado 119, and 287. Many of those routes have had service reductions due to the impacts of COVID. And so we want to be able to look at how could we use some of these dollars, the federal funding, to help bring back and restore service levels on those important regional corridors. And then in addition to those types of routes, we also want to look at ways that the funding could be invested to enhance what's called on-demand service. You may be familiar with our Ride-Free Lafayette service that Boulder County operates within the Lafayette community. We would like to look at ways that that could be expanded to serve more of the communities in East Boulder County. And then in addition, there's a new idea for on-demand service in the Gun Barrel area that could be used to replace fixed route service that was removed during the last couple of years with COVID. So there's a variety of types of transit service we'll share a little bit more about here in a moment, and different types of partnerships in terms of how to deliver those services. So some may be directly provided by Boulder County through contracts with transit operators such as Via Mobility Services, and others might be done through multi-agency partnerships, including RTD and or other transit providers. So there's a whole host of options on the table, recognizing that none of this is a one-size-fits-all. We need to be adaptable and nimble to address the needs of the transit customers in the area, both for today and going forward. So if we could go to the next slide, please, Angel. So this is an example of the HOP service within the Boulder community. Again, it's operated by the city of Boulder through a contract with Via Mobility Services. So this is one of the proposals would be to help bolster resources to be able to grow back HOP service within Boulder. And let's go to the next slide. I'm trying to go through these pretty quickly because I want to leave time for questions and discussion. This is an example of the new service that Boulder County is working on to replace the Y that used to run between Boulder and Lyons. That service was removed during COVID and replaced on a temporary basis with a taxi voucher program. So the goal now is to move forward this summer, or replace the Y with the new Lions Flyer service, and then augment the off-peak hours with the taxi voucher program. So it's a combination approach. And I just want to flag too for folks that are watching the slides, on the bottom of our slide is our transit website link. So if you have additional questions or want more information, you can check that out there too. But let's keep going, Angel. To the next slide. Oh, there we go. So then again, this is an example of one of the regional routes along Colorado 7. People think of it as the jump, the long jump, and looking at ways how could we again work together with the county, local communities, with RTD and others to help grow back transit service along this important regional corridor. We can go to the next slide. Similarly, what are the potential opportunities to partner for growing back transit service along the Colorado 119 corridor between Boulder and Longmont? This is an important corridor that we've been working on together to create the 119 bus rapid transit. So are there incremental steps that we could do to invest to work toward that longer term future? Next slide, please. And then again, similarly, along 287 in Longmont, a lot of service reductions in that area. And are there opportunities to grow back that service, streamline the service, and provide higher frequency service for communities from Longmont south to US 36 and ultimately connections into Denver. So again, lots of options on the table for the regional service. And then this is an example of our Ride Free Lafayette service, the on-demand service that I mentioned within the Lafayette community. And our proposal is to work toward expanding that to create more interconnected or unified service area across the eastern Boulder County communities. Next slide, please. And then again, I mentioned the new idea that's coming forward. It's a multi-agency public-private partnership for on-demand service in the Gun Barrel area that can link to the Colorado 119 regional service, but provide more scaled transit access and circulation in the Gun Barrel area in a way that would replace the former fixed route 205 service in that area. And we can go to the next slide, please. So as you can see, we're working on all of these. There's a whole variety of shapes and sizes of transit and different ways to deliver the services working together through our multi-agency partnerships. We're hosting this public meeting this evening, but the public comment period on this proposed program of projects runs through the end of June. And so please feel free tonight to give us input and feedback, but also there's a way to do that through our website, or you can contact any of us individually. I think Angel put that information in the chat as well. So we really encourage your input on this. And then there's some subsequent steps in front of us, working with the Denver Regional Council of Governments and ongoing work with the Federal Transit Administration and our other agency partners to complete all of the required processes and steps for Boulder County to be officially recognized as a direct recipient of these American Rescue Plan funds. Our goal is then to be able to move forward as quickly as possible to get these services in place and incrementally coming back. And our hope is we can continue that work this summer and into the fall. Next slide, please. So again, there's information on how to provide comments throughout the process by phone, by mail, by email. There's also a comment form that's on the website as well that you can use. Anyway, reach out to us however you would like and provide the input. And please, we'll go to the next slide. And so that really wraps up the presentation portion of the evening. And we just want to open it up to your comments, questions, and suggestions about this proposed set of transit services and any additional ideas that you'd like to offer as well. So I guess, Alex, if you can see if there's any questions in the Q&A section or the chat section, that would be great. Or if people want to raise their hand, whatever is easier.
It does not look like we have any questions in the Q&A yet.
Okay. If it's easier for people to just do the raise hand, that's fine too. Oh, sure. Thanks, Audrey. I see Audrey's question about I don't see any projects for Louisville or Superiors. Can you speak to this? So that is the area that we are proposing for the expanded on-demand service for all of East Boulder County. So it would include Lafayette, Louisville, Superior, and Erie. That whole East Boulder County area would have the expanded on-demand service. And I hope that I made that more clear. Does that answer your question? And we're a small group, so please feel free to, participate.
Yes, you answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. And I guess I should say as well, the additional regional service through different types of partnerships would also benefit the East Boulder County communities along the US 287 corridor and along the Colorado 7 corridor as well. And then I see the question about, it cut off for me.
The
gun
question,
barrel. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, there's also, go ahead with the gun barrel. So Audrey wanted to know how long the pilot period would be funded for, and would it need to meet ridership standards to continue receiving funding?
So again, this is a multi-agency partnership for the gun barrel shuttle. This particular funding that we're talking about this evening, the Federal Transit Administration COVID funding, can be programmed from now through 2027. So it's a multi-year funding mechanism. I think there's conversations around the gun barrel pilot around it, at least a minimum of 3 years. So depending on when that, for example, if that were to start up in 2023, it could run for 3 or 4 years from there, based on this particular funding source. But it would also depend on the funding sources from the other project partners.
Can I ask?
Sorry, we have one more question that was in the Q&A, Lisa, and then I'll turn it over to you. So Peter wants to know if the BOLT funding would ensure that there would be frequent pickup on the 21st and Longmont.
Okay, and I guess I'm not particularly familiar with that particular stop. I don't know if Alex or if Phil is on the call, if there's questions about that particular stop in Longmont, but we could certainly find out.
Yeah, I do think this is Phil Greenwald from the city of Longmont, and that service with restoration of what was kind of there before. That stop, it's just north of 21st on Main Street, would certainly continue to operate as it is today, and the service would serve that stop more frequently.
Great. Thank you, Phil.
And Lisa Lindorf wanted to ask a question, and then I see that Jonathan Singers has his hand raised. So Lisa, you're first.
Well, I love having Lafayette free ride, but I wondered if we're going to have it in the other communities, will we be able to get from one community to the next on Lafayette free ride?
Right, that's the idea, is to be able to expand it. So rather than like today where it's just operating within Lafayette, you would be able to go from a destination, let's say from Lafayette to Louisville, or from Louisville to Superior or to Erie, but you'd be able to travel throughout the eastern part of Boulder County beyond just the specific geographic boundary for each community. So that's the intent.
That would be wonderful. Will we be able to go to Boulder with it? Or do we switch to RTD for that?
Right, so that would be one of the options, is you could take the on-demand service in East Boulder County and then connect to one of the regional routes to come into Boulder. You could catch the Dash or the Jump or any of the other routes in the area that could bring you into Boulder. So it would be a connection on the east end of the county to the rest of the network.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
So the next person we have is Jonathan Singer. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Hey, thank you very much. Well, first of all, thanks for the presentation. And I'm with the Boulder Chamber of Commerce now, so we're super excited to see this opportunity for on-demand service from gun barrel to more regional connections. So great work on that. I'm curious, with the Mobility for All opportunities here, I'm just kind of curious, which organizations and groups have you reached out to? I'm sort of thinking groups like Imagine or the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition, and what concerns or aspirations have you heard from organizations that represent people with disabilities?
I can go ahead and take that one, Kathleen.
Thanks, Angel.
So Mobility for All actually hosts what's called the Mobility and Access Coalition, and that is a federal requirement for local coordination of transportation services that benefit older adults, people with disabilities, low-income households. And we are wrapping up our Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan. And we outlined in that plan several strategies that we will address over the next 5 years collaboratively with organizations such as Center for People with Disabilities, CCDC, and really we have this, it's a monthly forum where we really try to address the needs of underserved populations, in particular people with disabilities as well. So I will put in the chat after this the link to the Mobility and Access for All Ages and Abilities plan, so you can take a look at those project priorities and strategies. The Boulder County Commissioners will consider it for adoption at the end of July.
Great, thank you, Angel.
I was going to say we have another question in the chat about what outreach or advertising is planned to help remind folks that we have non-car forms of transportation.
Yep, that's a really important point. We want to make sure that we get the word out to everyone. And I think, again, that's a great opportunity area for partnerships with our transportation management and organizations such as Commuting Solutions, Boulder Transportation Connections, and again, all of the different networks that we work through together, because you're exactly right. We want to make sure that we are able to get the word out to people that we are bringing back transit. So as people are traveling more, whether it's for work or for school or for different community services or events or just connecting to family again and friends, these routes and enhanced services are available to take you there. So that's a really important message, and we would want to continue active partnerships to get the word out.
Thanks, Kathleen. We have one more question in the chat. The majority of the funding is for Boulder. Other than the HOP, how will that funding be invested?
Yep. So I think that the thought behind all of this is there's the services within the community of Boulder, like the HOP. There's the service we were just talking about, the gun barrel area, connecting to and from there, and then also connecting to and from the city of Boulder. So as we know, as many of us know, a lot of the people who work in the Boulder community commute in from other communities across Boulder County and beyond. And so by helping to restore and bring back options like the Lions Flyer or any of the regional routes on 119 or 7, it's also helping the Boulder community. So some are within and then some are to and from. So the idea is we're trying to create a menu of options and choices for people for local trips as well as regional trips.
So I'm not seeing any additional questions in the chat or the Q&A at this time.
Does anyone want to just, again, if you want to raise your hand, whatever is easier for folks. I appreciate Angel's got some great links provided in the chat. Again, the comment period for this specific set of transit services that's in the proposed program of projects, lots of P's there, sorry, alliteration, is open through the end of the month. So please let us know if you have additional ideas. Oh, and I do see a hand up, Lisa.
I just wanted to compliment you on your providing transportation alternatives for people with disabilities. I'm one of the Mobility for All ambassadors, and I do have a disability. And so I really appreciate all the efforts that go on behind the scenes to make it more livable, because mobility is the same thing. You know, isolation is one of the worst enemies for people with disabilities. So I really appreciate all the work you guys do.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being an ambassador as well. And tremendous thanks to Angel and her team and all. I mean, it's foundational. I mean, as again, it's about connecting us to each other and where we need to go. And I appreciate your kind words. And we want to be able to do more and more programs and services for everyone.
Thank you.
Sandra?
Yes, I know that growing services requires additional drivers, transit drivers, and I know that there's a problem with transit drivers not having enough of them. So I just want to know how you all feel that your plan can secure the drivers that you're going to need to do all these wonderful things that are being planned. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really important question, and certainly recognize the workforce challenges and the driver shortages, again, that are affecting our communities, our region, our country, right? So many of these things are universal. So we work closely with our transit service providers, like via mobility services and others. So any of these services would be put out for a competitive bid for providers to bid on, and certainly that has to be taken into consideration, who has the capacity to do what. And I think that's why I've been emphasizing this as incremental additional service over time. We won't be able to bring back everything all at once, but we need to get started, and we need to start bringing back what we can and what can be resourced through all of those different, again, partnerships, like holistically with all of our agencies, as well as the other nonprofit and private sector transit operators. So
Audrey has another question. Recognizing RTD operates most of the services, how will this impact RTD?
Yep. So again, I think the set of services we are proposing is a combination. So today, Boulder County, through via mobility services, we operate the Ride Free Lafayette on-demand service. The service between Lyons and Boulder would be operated through a contract as well. So some of these services are not operated by RTD, but RTD may be involved as a partner in the project. And so the idea is how are we sharing and leveraging resources across all of our agencies? I think what we see is RTD cannot shoulder all of the responsibility for delivering transit in our communities alone. We need to be finding ways to do it together. So these more localized services that we've talking about, the on-demand in Gun Barrel, the East Boulder County services, the Lyons to Boulder, those are things that we can help shoulder through Boulder County that hopefully then helps RTD be able to focus their limited resources on some of those primary regional routes as well. So if we're all doing our parts as much as we can, at the end of the day, it helps all of our agencies and ultimately helps the customer be able to have more options and choice. Did that answer that question? Sorry, I keep looking at the chat and the Q&A. I probably just, is that helpful, Audrey?
Yes, thank you very much. Have you heard from RTD regarding their perspectives to this draft plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we work with RTD on all of these ideas. We've made a variety of proposals on some of the regional fronts. So I know they're working on things on their end, and we're working on options on our end as well. And it's not really ends, it's just we're all looking at different ways to share the roles in this and have options about how it could be delivered. And if one doesn't work, then we'll figure out another one. I think that's what if we've learned nothing else over the past few years with the impacts of COVID, is that we have to be resilient, we have to be creative, and we have to find innovative partnerships that we might not have previously anticipated, but we need to keep finding ways to work together, again, to share the responsibility and figure out how can we bring back transit to, as best as possible.
We have another question, Kathleen, from Brent. He wants to know if there's any information on the Amtrak expansion down the Front Range and if it would include Boulder.
Sure, that's a good question. So there's a new district that was formed by the state legislative process called the Front Range Passenger Rail District, and that is just getting formed. Previously was kind of housed through the Colorado Department of Transportation, but they're really focusing on studying the possibility of Front Range passenger rail all the way from Fort Collins through Longmont, Boulder, and into the Denver area, and then south to southern Colorado as well. So through that process, they're coordinating with Amtrak and potential federal railroad related funding initiatives. I think Phil Greenwald was on the call from Longmont. He might have additional information to add. He's been actively working on that along with us and along with the city of Louisville and all the communities along the rail line from Boulder County to Denver.
Hey, good evening again. Phil Greenwald with the city of Longmont. We have been working with various groups, mostly the state, people from the state that have been very helpful in trying to formulate the plan and get the district moving. There is a district that's been formed in the last legislative session, the one before this one, I should say. And so they formed a district, and then this legislative session, there was actually money that was moved into the district from state funding. And so they're starting the process of trying to decide which route works best along the Front Range. And there's a couple different options that are out there, but one of the ones we're pushing for, obviously from Longmont, Boulder County, is the one that runs along the current railroad, the BNSF railroad. So that's one of the options that's out there, and it's one of the more popular ones, I think, too. And so we're pushing to get that service at least worked on as far as evaluating that system or that route, and working to get some of those funding dollars that have been moved to Amtrak in the most recent federal bill for dollars. And so we just continue to kind of work along with these different entities to see how we can get those dollars into this corridor to start that service as soon as possible. But it's not going to be quick. So those are the things we have to kind of consider. It's probably at least a 5-year program that we have to contend with here.
Great, thank you, Phil. Appreciate your help there. Any additional questions this evening? Again, if you think of other things after tonight, feel free to reach out to us. Angel's done a great job putting a lot of links in the chat, so there's lots of options there as well. Please reach out to us, particularly if there's something we've missed. We want to make sure that we're looking again at all the options and possibilities. And again, this is meant to be an iterative process and a work in progress. And so we want to do the best we can with the available resources. And we want to expedite the service restoration as quickly as possible and get things up and moving. And then continue to adapt as we all are still moving honestly through COVID, right? We're not done yet, unfortunately. So there may be other things that pop up in the future that we don't know about today. And so we want to be able to be adaptable and flexible and have ongoing opportunities for input to guide the work along the way. So even though there's this specific comment period this month, please stay in touch with us and please continue to provide ideas and suggestions going forward. This is, again, one piece of a much larger picture and conversation around the importance of transit for our communities. Alex or Angel, any additional comments?
No, just thank you everybody for turning out, and we'll post this video on our website tomorrow. And if you could share it with your networks, that would be very much appreciated. We do have information on how to submit all the comments until June 30th.
Great. Thank you again, everyone. We appreciate all of your time and interest and efforts in this. So we will keep on keeping on, right? Our mantra these days, we just try to keep things moving as best as possible. So, and again, I want to say a tremendous thanks to all of our agency partners. Phil, thank you for your assistance tonight, and Audrey for your questions and all the questions that we've heard from our community members and stakeholders. So please continue your work with us and ongoing engagement. So have a great evening. Thank you.